Okay, let's hunt, I agreed, a thrill of nerves and anticipation making my stomach quiver. I unwrapped Edward's arms from around me, keeping one of his hands, and turned my back to the strange and beautiful woman in the mirror. Chapter 21. Bella's faced with leaping out of the window because she can't use a door like a stinking mortal human. And I was very conscious of my family behind me, watching me silently. Mostly silently. Edward had already chuckled under his breath once. One mistake and he'd be rolling on the floor. Then the jokes about the world's only clumsy vampire would start. Also, the stress that Alice must have put me in sometime when I was too lost in the burning to notice was not what I would have picked out for either jumping or hunting. Tightly fitted ice blue silk? What did she think I would need it for? Was there a cocktail party later? Watch me, Edward said, and then, very casually, he stepped out of the tall open window and fell. I watched carefully, analyzing the angle at which he bent his knees to absorb the impact. The sound of his landing was very low, a muted thud that could have been a door softly closed or a book gently laid on a table. It didn't look hard. Clenching my teeth as I concentrated, I tried to copy his casual step into empty air. Ha! The ground seemed to move toward me so slowly that it was nothing at all to place my feet. What shoes had Alice put me in? Stilettos? She'd lost her mind. To place my silly shoes exactly right so that the landing was no different than stepping 1 foot forward on a flat surface. I absorbed the impact on the balls of my feet, not wanting to snap off the thin heels. My landing seemed just as quiet as his. I grinned at him. Right. Easy. He smiled back. Bella? Yes. That was quite graceful, even for a vampire. Snip. Ed and Bells go hunting. The wind shifted, blowing the smell of wet earth and coming rain across my face, further freeing me from the other scent's fiery grip, a scent so delicious it could only be human. Edward hesitated a few feet away, his arms raised as if to embrace me, or restrain me. His face was so intent and cautious as I froze. Was intent and cautious as I froze, horrified. I realized I had been about to attack him. With a horrid jerk, I straightened out of my defensive crouch. I held my breath as I refocused, fearing the power of the fragrance swirling up from the south. He could see reason return to my face, and he took a step toward me, lowering his arms. I have to get away from here, I spit through my teeth. Let's see if I can do that. I have to get away from here. I spit through my teeth, using the breath I had. Shock crossed his face. Can you leave? I didn't have time to ask him what he meant by that. I knew the ability to think clearly would only last as long as I could stop myself from thinking of. I burst into a run again, flat out sprint straight north, concentrating solely on the uncomfortable feeling of sensory deprivation that seemed to be my body's only response to the lack of air. My one goal was to run far enough away that the scent behind me could be completely lost, impossible to find even if I changed my mind. Snip. He shrugged and shook his head, refusing to be deflected. Bella, how did you do it? Run away? I held my breath. But how did you stop hunting? Snip. What else could I do? I asked. His attitude confused me. What did he want to have happened? It might have been someone I know. He startled me, suddenly bursting into a spasm of loud laughter, throwing his head back and letting the sound echo off the trees. Why are you laughing at me? He stopped at once, and I could see he was wary again. Keep it under control, I thought to myself. I had to watch my temper. Just like I was a young werewolf rather than a vampire. I'm not laughing at you, Bella. I'm laughing because I am in shock. And I am in shock because I am completely amazed. Why? You shouldn't be able to do any of this. You shouldn't be so rational. You shouldn't be able to stand here discussing this with me calmly and coolly. And much more than any of that, you should not have been able to break off mid-hunt with the scent of human blood in the air. Even mature vampires have difficulty with that. We're always very careful when we hunt, so as to not put ourselves in the path of temptation. Bella, you're behaving like you're decades rather than days old. So, to recap, Bella is graceful, even for a vampire, and she can break off mid-hunt like she's decades rather than days old. What do you mean she's not a Mary Sue? If you need more proof than that, you should probably go back and reread the definition of a Sue. What is this? You want more? Okay. Chapter 33, Forgery. This is a phone call about Bella between a sleazebag and a lawyer. No, let me talk, okay? She says you know her sister or something. Not likely. What does she look like? She looks like... His eyes ran from my face to my shoes appreciatively. Well, she looks like a freaking supermodel. That's what she looks like. I smiled and he winked at me, and then went on. Rocking body, pale as a sheet, dark brown hair almost to her waist. Needs a good night's sleep. Any of this sounding familiar? You wish, Meyer. You wish. One last thing. What an amazing creature she is, Edward murmured, almost in agreement, as if Jacob's comment was meant as a compliment. He was both dazzling and dazzled. It was a strange feeling, not surprising, I suppose, since everything felt strange now, this being natural at something. As a human, I'd never been the best at anything. I was okay at dealing with Renee, but probably lots of people could have done better. Phil seemed to be holding his own. I was a good student, but never top of the class. Obviously, I could be counted out of anything athletic. Not artistic or musical, no particular talents to brag of. Nobody ever gave away a trophy for reading books. She hasn't been to too many libraries when she was a little kid, apparently. After 18 years of mediocrity, I was pretty used to being average. Sure. I realize now that I'd long ago given up any aspirations of shining at anything. I just did the best with what I had. Excuse me. Never quite fitting into my world. So this was really different. I was amazing now, to them and to myself. It was like I'd been born to be a vampire. The idea made me want to laugh, but it also made me want to sing. I had found my true place in the world, and the place I fit, the place I shined. At least she admits it.